everybody, Northwest Cavalryman here, and today I'm doing another video in my series ranking all my pistols 1 to 12. So stand by. So today we're looking at a Tisas imported by Canuck. I do live in Canada and I didn't choose the name. And it is a high power clone and it's still produced today. So if you want a high power but you can't find any of the originals and you want something new, this is a good option. This is ranked number 11 on my list of firearms that I like. I do enjoy shooting it. There are some problems with it, and we're going to talk about that right now. The firearm is empty. All firearms that I use in these videos have been cleared prior to the video. So let's talk about the original trigger pull weight and the current trigger pull weight. And they're one and the same because I've not done anything to the trigger. So let's get into it. The original trigger pull weight, the current trigger pull weight, and the single action trigger pull weight, well, they're the same because it's a single action only and I've not done anything with the trigger. The hammer has to be back in order for the gun to fire. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but there is no magazine in the magazine well. There is no cartridge in the chamber, and this gun, although it's a high power clone, will fire without the magazine. The trigger pull weight on this firearm is 5 pounds 13 ounces, which is very, very crisp. Very crisp. Trigger feel, I really like this trigger. Ranking an 8 out of 12. It has a really good feel to it. It is, it's not the lightest, but it's very crisp. It breaks right away. There's very little take up in the trigger. A little bit there, but then it breaks really, really nice, really crisp. So I like the trigger feel on this. It's a smooth face trigger, but it does the job. So I'm going to rank that as an 8. Trigger reset. Very audible and tactile, and a very short trigger pull afterwards. So I really think that this has a really good trigger pull and it feels really nice. Trigger consistency, well, it's a single action only, so it's going to always be the same. And you know, I'm going to rank this a 10 out of 12 because of my other firearms also being so good. Have to place it 1 to 12, can't be any ties, so it's right up there with the best of my triggers. However, for consistency. Ergonomics. Well, ergonomics on this, I really like the feel of it, and I can get a pretty high grip on it. I do like the ergonomics of it, but I have to rank it somewhere. I'm going to have to rank it as a 2 because of all the other firearms that I have. And there is an issue with this firearm that we're going to talk about when we get the shootability. And it has a little bit to do with ergonomics as well. Now the grip texture. I have replaced the original grips that came with it with these Hogue grips, and I do like the grip texture. It's not as aggressive as I really like, but I wanted to stick with something that really looked like it fit with the gun. It's not going to be one of the guns that I'm going to be competing with or always grabbing. I do enjoy shooting it, and so I wanted to keep the grips, you know, fairly similar to what would come on a high power. And do like the rosewood color of these grips, and the texturing is really good. There is no texturing on the back strap and none on the front strap. It's going to cause the grip and feel of the firearm to go down a bit, but you can get really high. Like none of my firearms are bad as far as ergonomics or after I've worked on grip is concerned. Just that I have to put this somewhere, and I'm going to rank this as the grip texture is number 6, ergonomics is number 2. Controls, I'm also going to rank this as a number 2. I do like the safety. It is a frame mounted safety, slide safety, goes up into the slide. If it was bigger, it would be nicer. However, this is the design of the Hi-Powers. They're fairly small. These firearms are meant to be carried with a full magazine, however, none in the chamber. So you rack the firearm when you want to go, when you want to engage, and then afterwards you do have the safety. If you haven't gone through your entire magazine, there's still one in the chamber, you can engage the safety instead of unloading the firearm totally. So that's how this firearm operates. The safety, in my opinion, on Hi-Powers could be bigger, so you can carry one chambered, but that's not how they're designed. To take down these firearms, you lock the slide back, then push the slide stop out, slide stop, slide release out, release the slide, and to lock it back you do use the safety in a little notch. I'll show that to you right away. So it's fairly easy to take down, not as intuitive as some other firearms. So that's the notch you put it into before you take out the slide stop, slide release, and that's where it's going to be when you put back the slide stop, slide release as well. So essentially you're going to lock it back with the safety into that secondary notch. All in all, the controls are fairly good, but I am going to have to rank it at number 2 because I have other firearms where I really just like the controls a lot better. So number 2 out of 12. Recoil management. Again, I can steady this firearm fairly good and manage the recoil. It will come back on target. I'm really quite accurate with this. It's just that a lot of my other firearms do have a lot better recoil management, so it has to go down as a number 2. Shootability. This is where it loses a few extra points, and that's because of the hammer design here. On my FN Browning Hi-Power, we have a traditional type spur hammer, and I don't get this problem, but I'm going to grip it fairly low here and show you that when this comes back, when I've got my high grip on the firearm, it's going to pinch. So as far as shootability, recoil management, I have to grip a little lower if I'm not wearing gloves. So that affects the operation of the firearm, in my opinion. So that's partly why the ergonomics are so low, and partly why the shootability is so low. So I'm going to give shootability a 3 out of 12. Historical significance. Well, it is a Hi-Power, but it's a clone, so it really doesn't have a lot of historical significance. So I'm going to rate this at a number 1 out of 12. Personal preference. I will probably grab this gun before I choose my Walther P1, but probably behind all the rest of the guns. So I'm going to rate this as a number 2 out of 12. Aesthetics. Now aesthetics, I really like the looks of the Hi-Power, and this one in particular looks really good because it's new. It doesn't have a lot of, well, it's fairly new. I bought it about a year ago. It doesn't have a lot of character marks on it yet, so it's in pretty good shape. So I'm going to give this right in the middle of the pack of my firearms and give it a 6 out of 12. That gives a total of 75 out of possible 180, and it comes in at the 11th position on my rankings of firearms 1 to 12. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and as I said before, I'm going to put all of these firearms in one video at the end, but I do have these reference videos so you can go back and see how I came to the conclusion of rating my firearms 1 to 12. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next video.